Hello and welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. Hello, welcome back. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and today is going to be such a spectacular day. We are talking about no longer being against yourself. Let me just take a moment here and recognize how often the voice inside your own head is the loudest, meanest, most degrading voice out there. I know. We talk about everything being against us and the world being against us and being so difficult when people are disrespectful or mean or not helpful, or people have, ideas about themselves and they don't care about my needs or wants. But let's just for a moment recognize that what's actually happening is the loudest voice of all is the one inside your own head. And how often that voice is the one that is demeaning, critical, berating, hurtful, painful, so mean. And today we're talking about the practice of learning to stop being so hard on yourself. And I just want to let you know that if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so hard on myself. Yes, I know that's true. And now you're beating yourself up over that. Oh my gosh, I get it. It makes so much sense. So often in our education, in our lives, in our upbringing, in society, we have got the message that it's important to be self-critical. That in order to do better, be better, create more, be more, do more, we have to constantly be beating ourselves up. And so often that's how we learned. And maybe that's become a part of your belief structure. When I owned my first orthodontic practice, it really wasn't doing very well. I was the queen of beating myself up. Tarryn, oh my gosh. First it was how poor I was at running the business. Then it was how crazy I thought I was for even thinking I could. Then it was beating myself up for the financial commitment. Then it was beating myself up for not learning more about communication with my team. Then it was beating myself up for not being thin enough. Then it was beating myself up for not being a present enough parent. There was no way I could escape it. When I got too much sleep, I blamed myself. When I didn't get enough sleep, I blamed myself. When I worked out, I blamed myself. When I didn't work out, I blamed myself. There was no escaping that vicious judge in my own head. And the way it played out was I was constantly in a place of stress and overwhelm. And I thought it was everything else outside of me. But if I'm honest with myself, the loudest voice was in my own head. So today we're talking about self-compassion and the critical component that self-compassion plays in your ability to be a successful leader, a successful dentist, a successful business owner, a happy person. But let's just focus just for a moment on the success of your business. It requires self-compassion and grace. And I didn't learn that early on. I thought it was the opposite. I thought it required constantly judging myself and holding myself accountable. So what is self-compassion? It's the extension of, get this, kindness, forgiveness, and grace when faced with adversity. I'm going to say it again. Self-compassion is the extension of kindness, compassion, forgiveness, and grace when faced with adversity. It is easy to love on ourselves when things are going really well. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I mean, that's actually not always true. Sometimes even praising yourself when things are going well is hard. That's how good we are at beating ourselves up. But it's easier when you're feeling svelte and thin and like you're in your body, it's easy to go, oh my gosh, okay, I love myself. It's a lot more difficult to do that when you're not feeling that way. It's really easy to say, wow, my business is doing great when you're hitting the big numbers and you've got big growth. It's not so easy to say, I love myself and the business owner I am when your business is struggling financially. When it counts is in the moments of adversity. So what does adversity look like as a business owner in dentistry? Well, what it looks like is when you hired someone that didn't work out, when you missed a lesion on a radiograph, when you contracted with an accountant who turned out not to have good advice and you lost a lot of money, when you went home after a difficult day at work and you yelled at your kids. Those are the moments I'm asking you for self-compassion. In fact, those are the most critical moments where practicing self-compassion is so important in the greater success of this entrepreneurial journey of owning a dental practice or your own journey of being a dentist. That's it. It's in those moments when things weren't as shiny and new, when things weren't as smooth and effortless and easy. The patient who came and said they were going to sue you. In that moment, self-compassion and grace. Self-compassion and grace. I know, that feels so strange, doesn't it? Because what we've learned in dental school is you beat yourself up. You punish yourself. When you don't do something right, you punish yourself so that you go back and you work harder. That's what we were taught in elementary school. Well, you screwed that up. Well, you got to punish yourself and go back and do it harder and try harder. And we've even told ourselves like, well, I'm not good at something, so I've got to work harder. Maybe you've told yourself, I'm not the smartest person, so I have to outwork everybody. I have to be an extra critical judge of myself because I'm not XYZ. But let's just go back again to what self-compassion and grace looks like. Self-love. And why this is such an important part of being an excellent healthcare provider and of being an excellent leader. It means accepting your humanness. Just for a moment, let that settle in. You are human. You are a human being. I know here at the Business of Happiness, we talk a lot about being a spiritual being, having a human moment, being our spiritual connectedness, our soul, our higher self, our inner voice, our inner wisdom, our connection to the universe. I know we talk a lot about that, but when we talk about self-compassion, I am talking about your human being. I am talking about you being human. And guess what? Humans make mistakes. It's a part of our journey. The growth and evolution journey is not a linear, strategic arrow pointing straight to the top. That is not the way businesses grow either, by the way. It is not the way we develop and grow as dentists. It's not the way we develop and grow as parents. There's no straight shoot to the top. It's ebbing and flowing. It's having great successes and then having epic failures. That's how we learn. Let's go back to those moments as a child where you were learning to walk. You didn't just get up one day and then took baby steps and bigger steps and bigger steps and suddenly you were running. No, you stumbled. You took a too big a step. You walked for the couch when it was 10 feet away and you fell on your face. And what did you do? You got up and kept going. Or maybe you crawled a little and then you got up and kept going. Or you crawled all the way. And then you pulled yourself up on the couch. But there's none of the beating yourself up. Let's just, for a moment, imagine that. Imagine we had this very developed, which we call intellectual mind, that says, oh no, we have to beat ourselves up and hold ourselves accountable. And after that first step, you fell down and you thought, who are you to think you can walk? You're going to stay down crawling, Tarryn. You do that well. Don't get up and walk because you obviously can't do that well. Who are you to think you can walk? Everybody else is walking, but you're going to stay down on the ground because you're not good enough. No, you pulled yourself up. You tried it again. Zero judgment, zero comparison to all the people in the room who were walking so effortlessly. It's the same thing in the business journey. Can we just for a moment hold space for that? I didn't realize that when I started out with my first practice. I thought that everyone just knew what they were doing. Not true. Here's the secret. Nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody knows. And thank God for that, because it allows us creativity and inspired action and being true to yourself. And there are no rules. And the one way we can stay in alignment with that truth is recognizing we're human beings who make mistakes, who have bad days, who have nervous systems that get overridden and jacked up, and that the one way forward is self-compassion. So what lies on the other side of practicing self-compassion? And let's just be clear here. Self-compassion is a practice. Just like maybe for decades, self-beratement has been a practice, and you've gotten really, really good at that. Lying in bed at night and thinking of all the things you did wrong, you said wrong, you thought wrong, you felt wrong, right? We've gotten really good at that. And then we don't sleep. And then we wake up at 2 a.m. and we're thinking again about all those things you should have, could have, would have said. But let's just talk about what lies on the other side of practicing self-compassion. Intentionally. Waking up every morning saying, today is the day I'm going to love myself come what may. I'm going to find out that someone took the way I sent that email the wrong way, and huge compassion for myself. I'm going to walk in and realize that my partner at the office, my business partner, is angry at me for XYZ, and I'm going to give myself self-compassion. I'm going to have a mother of a patient come in and scream at me that I didn't XYZ. And the first thing I'm going to do is pour on self-compassion. What lies on the other side of practicing self-compassion and grace? Enormous business growth. Enormous business growth. Why? Because when we give ourselves compassion and grace, it immediately calms our nervous system, this human body of ours. The moment you start aggressively judging and berating yourself by a single thought, this is how powerful we are, guys. And this is the most important part of what I want you to hear right now. Your thoughts create feelings. That is the biological truth. When you think a thought, we are such brilliant human minds. Our minds are so incredibly developed that a single thought triggers an emotion, which is purely hormonal cascades. Your thought creates a hormonal cascade that leads to a feeling in your body. And that emotion, what you label that feeling, that emotion that you label that feeling, either supports or hurts you in the very next thought you think, or in the permission your body is giving you for the very next thought or action. It's biologic. And that is the truth. So on the other side of self-compassion, growth, business success, success as a dentist, success as a parent. And I'm not talking other people's definition of success. I mean yours. I mean true, holistic embodiment of the person you are aspiring to be. The other side of practicing self-compassion lies being present in the moment. And that is such a gift. Because when you give yourself compassion, it calms your nervous system enough to say, you are safe to just be here right now. You are safe to just sit and listen to your 6-year-old tell you about her day. And that is the most precious moment. It's not about the trips to Disney. It's about those moments. Being present with your patient. It's like why you're here. Because of those connections with your patients, because of those sweet, tender moments when they share something with you, which only feels safe to do when your body is safe to hold a moment of peace and not feeling like you got to rush yourself to the next thing. In fact, the other side of self-compassion is calm in your day. It's giving yourself room to breathe. It's giving yourself access to gratitude. The other side of practicing self-compassion is willingness to take new big leaps, to try something new in your business, to try something new in your career, to try something new in your life, to take on. That's when we give ourselves self-compassion, we give ourselves permission to do new things. On the other side of self-compassion is being able to delegate, to be a good leader, the capacity to be a leader of a bigger team. On the other side of self-compassion is asking for what you need from a place of wholeness and worthiness and calm, and not anger or frustration or neediness, but just recognizing that I deserve this support, that this beautiful business deserves this support. It's asking for what you need in your personal, intimate relationships. It's speaking your truth. On the other side of self-compassion is giving yourself permission to speak your truth, to stand up and say what needs to be said, to no longer tolerate the things that have been hurting you in your life. It's about calm in your nervous system. It's about creative business decisions. It's about having fun again, not just in life, but in work, in every single day. When you give yourself self-compassion, you give yourself permission to have fun. If you're constantly critiquing yourself, you're not allowing yourself that space. It's about learning that you are human and you're going to make mistakes. And that when you give yourself compassion and grace, it gives yourself permission to take the next step, staying excited and interested and passionate. It's the antidote to burnout. It really is. You know, when you're burning out and you feel like I've just lost all excitement for this job anymore, this is the antidote to it, is self-compassion. You stop worrying about what other people think about you because you've stopped judging yourself. It doesn't even touch you. If you stop judging yourself, then if someone says, you don't even receive it as a judgment anymore. Self-compassion becomes fuel and fueling for you energetically. You find more energy, more love, more joy in your day, more interest, more excitement, more passion. Whereas judgment and beating yourself up pushes you down. It feels heavy. It feels exhausting and defeating. Do you feel energetically the difference between the two? Self-judgment also keeps you from connecting to your higher self, to your inner wisdom, to the truth of your oneness with the universe, to your integrity as a spiritual being. If you're not allowing yourself self-compassion and self-forgiveness and grace, you will never be able to unarmor your heart and allow the truth of who you are. And I'd love you to write this down. I am either for myself or against myself. Just let that settle in. I am either for myself or against myself. The most important relationship you will ever have is with yourself. Hands down. Because it's from that place that other people know how to interact with you. Even your patients, even your team, even your colleagues, even your loved ones. The most important relationship you will ever have is with yourself. So if you want to accelerate your business growth, step one, give yourself self-compassion and grace. It's critical to this entrepreneurial journey. That's it. If you want to have more love in your life, number one, step one, give yourself more compassion and grace. If you want to lose weight, step one, more self-compassion, more grace. That's it. Because the moment we start giving ourselves that self-critiquing, what's happening? Adrenaline, cortisol, hormonal cascade of stress and overwhelm, and now increased blood sugar, increased insulin. We are now putting ourselves right back into that place of fight or flight, which goes against every component of growth, because your body does not want to do any growth or learning or loving or thriving when it is running away from a tiger. Step one, self-compassion. every single time something doesn't go the way you had hoped, and you beat yourself up and you tell yourself you should have known better, that you shouldn't have said that thing, that you shouldn't have done the thing, you're putting yourself right back into that place of fight or flight. Okay, so how do we do this? I'm going to share with you my practice. And believe me, it's a practice. To this day, it's such a practice. It's so easy to go back to that beating myself up because that's what I was taught growing up. That's what I was taught in our education system. That self-critiquing, that self-beratement. Can we just, for a moment, recognize the belief systems that we've created because of the way that we were brought up? We have told ourselves that self-judgment and self-beratement is okay. Why? Because we've told ourselves that if we give ourselves grace, that would mean I won't keep trying. If I'm kind to myself, then I won't try better. I'll just sit on the couch all day. If I don't beat myself up, I'm not going to hold myself accountable. If I give myself compassion, I'm going to slide and become complacent. Does any of that sound true to you? Have you had any of those beliefs embedded in your subconscious? Because I know I sure did. I am willing to bet that there's a part of you that says, if I don't beat myself up, if I don't hold myself accountable, I'll never get anything done. And you look back at yourself and you're like, yeah, it's because I punished myself and I threatened myself that I actually did the thing. And there's nothing further from the truth. Because imagine for a moment you had been your greatest cheerleader all the way. How much further would you have gone? How much less stress and overwhelm, how much more enjoyment of the journey would you have had? So let it be okay, by the way, that you've had that belief system embedded in you. That's okay. It's awesome awareness. You're not alone. And because you created that belief system, because you were so powerful to do that, guess what? You're also so powerful to choose a new belief. And that's what we do at the Business of Happiness, by the way. That is exactly what we do. We show you and teach you and guide you on how to create the new belief system of the woman you're becoming, the woman you aspire to be, the life you dream to have. Because she has a completely different belief system. She believes she is enough and whole and kind. She loves herself deeply. That's the work we do at the Business of Happiness. And if, by the way, if any of this, you're like, oh my God, that's me. I totally feel that way, that if I'm kind to myself, then bad things are going to happen. Trust me, I was there myself. There are 2 beautiful options, by the way, in the show notes of some exciting ways to work with us in the upcoming weeks. Radical Happiness is the foundational program of how you learn how to love yourself as a dentist, as a business owner, as a woman, as a mom, as a daughter, and actually enjoy radical happiness, which feels radical because it's the opposite of what we were taught. And by the way, that my summer program starts July 12th, so you have time. Jump in there now. That's in the show notes. And then another way is joining our delicious, beautiful in-person retreat, which is happening in October. And I still have a few spots available. But I digress. I'm going to give you right now in this episode a practice that I do for myself when I notice that self-judgment. The moment I notice the self-judgment, because guys, it still happens, because it's still a part of a practice that I had practiced for decades, for 30 odd years, more than 30 years. So of course there are going to be whispers of it when things go wrong every now and then. I'm getting really good at it where it doesn't happen so often anymore, but there's still times when, oh, Tarryn, and I want to beat myself up. I'm so aware of it now that I immediately stop what I'm doing. That's how critical I've realized this is. How impactful this is on the very next thing I say or do. That I stop. I, if I can, step outside because I like to get away from all of the whatever's happening, the stimulation that I'm happening, if it's an email or a person I'm talking to or a moment of realization or a number or whatever it is that's put me in that place of feeling like I'm about to be really mean to myself. And I step outside and I lift my face up to the sun and I just feel the beautiful rays of the sun on my face. And I put both hands on my heart and I ask myself, what do I need? Tarryn, what do you need? Because what I recognize is this is of my body. This is the human part of me. And I ask the human part of me, Tarryn, what do you need right now? And sometimes I just need to cry. Sometimes I just need to stop. I need to step away. Sometimes I just need a hug. And I give myself one. Sometimes I just need a pep talk to remind myself of who I know I am. I need my inner wisdom to come through to remind me the truth because I'm being so damn human right now. And then I give myself what I need. Whether it's a break or a nap or a cry or a medicine ball slam to get the anger out or a pep talk of a reminder of who I am and of my worth, there's nothing more powerful than being there for yourself in those moments, your human self. There's nothing more powerful. There's nothing more impactful in your business growth. There's nothing more impactful in your ability to be the very best dentists that you can be, the very best mother, the very happiest person. It is by far the core secret of greater success. So I'd love to give you, for those of you who love journaling, and if that's a way that you like to process, many of us do, because it's such a great way because it gets thoughts out of your head and makes clear on page. So I'm going to give you a journaling prompt just to explore this a little bit. I'm going to welcome you definitely into Radical Happiness, definitely to the Empower Her retreat. And before then, you're welcome to try these little journaling prompts. And it's going to be so beautiful to see what comes out of it. So, journal prompt number 1. What stops me from being kind to myself? Just find out. What stops me from being kind to myself? Number 2, what are my most common self-judgments? And we all have them, right? We all have the most common go-to self-judgments. And then once you've identified those most common self-judgments, I'd love for you to ask yourself, how can I see these differently? How can I see myself differently? And then I'm going to say, what is one way I can give myself grace? How can I give myself grace? I shared with you mine of stepping outside, sun on my face, hand on my heart, asking my body what it needs. What is something that could work for you? What is one way that my go-to practice? And whenever you can identify it, that's like having something in your toolkit, something in your arsenal that works for you. So finding it in a time of calm and just giving yourself a permission to be still and quiet with yourself is so powerful, because then when you're feeling activated and agitated, you can pull out that resource because you've identified it. And writing it down embeds it in your memory. So I highly recommend it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually also going to leave for you a link in the show notes to a Spotify journaling playlist. You're welcome to it. I like to journal to music. It just gives me a little more escape. It helps my mind be more present in the moment. So in the show notes, you'll find a link to my journaling playlist that you're welcome to use. If you have Spotify, just pop on in there. You're going to love it. It is delicious. And ask yourself those questions. And until next time, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Offer yourself grace. You are enough. And you deserve more than anything to remind yourself of that in your own head and your own heart. And remember, when you feel good, that's the whole point. When you feel good is when you can do good. So giving yourself that compassion and grace is so critical, because that's when we take action, greater impact, greater love, greater presence, and greater holistic success. Until next time, bye-bye. Hey, beauty, if you enjoyed this episode, then like and subscribe to the show and receive this beautiful message of empowerment, remembering what you are capable of and the purpose you serve in this world every single week. And if you know of a colleague who needs this message, share this episode with her. This is how we raise the collective in healthcare, reminding one another and supporting one another. Community is the answer. This is how we grow it. And lastly, I invite you to a phenomenal in-person event this October 2024, the Empower Her Retreat, exclusively for women in medicine and dentistry on the beach. It will change your life. And I cannot wait to see you there. Check out the details in the show notes and have a phenomenal day remembering that you are enough.